There, this is Phil Simborg reporting live from Peoria, Illinois. And I'll tell you, one of my favorite things in the world is to collect the mistakes of giants. And of course, I'm not going to embarrass anybody by saying whose mistake it is, because all of them make mistakes. And why do I like to collect them? Because it makes me feel like once in a while I have a chance to beat them, and once in a while everybody does, because this is just another example to prove that even the giants of backgammon are not perfect. But I have one of the giants of backgammon with me that I believe is one of my mentors and would get this perfect. I want to introduce you to John O'Hagan to tell you what's going on in this position. Just really quickly, this is an actual match where blue is winning 6-2 in a match to 9. So it's 3 away, 7 away in a match to 9. Red holds a 2 cube and is thinking about whether or not he should double or not. And the process that you should decide whether to double or not is going to be explained, and what the right answer is will be explained by John O'Hagan.
Thank you, Phil. As red, you should first ask yourself the Woolsey rule question, namely, am I sure that blue has a take? And so to answer that, you need to figure out what blue's take point is at this score. And so how do we do that? All right, if red redoubles, if blue were to drop, the score would be 6-4, which gives blue about 65% winning chances. If blue takes and loses, the score will be 6-6. Blue takes and wins, then he will win the match with 100%. So if he drops, he's 65% match winning chances. Take and lose 50%. Take and win 100. So the take point is 15 over 50, which is 30%.
So that's risk over risk plus reward to come up with that number.
Right. And so most of us know a reference position that's somewhat close to this. If red had a closed board with spares on his 6, 5, and 4 points, and blue had 5 checkers borne off, 1 on the roof, and the rest flushed down to his ace point, it would be a double and a very close take pass, which would, at a normal match score, which would mean blue would have about 22 or so percent, winning chances. Here, although red has already broken his 6 point, he's virtually certain to get a checker off next time. As a matter of fact, I'm almost positive he is. Whereas blue's position is much worse in that he's not flushed down to the ace point. He's got a gap on his 2 point. So clearly he is less than, I think, 22% here. And since he needs 30%, and remember there's no recube vig if blue does take, so he needs 30% period to take. So it's a redouble and a big pass.
Okay, and over the board took this cube and ended up losing, and the fellow he played questioned it very nicely, and I happened to be there and caught it, which is always, again, a delight, because the giants are simply not perfect. Now, John also said something that I found quite interesting. He said red will almost always get a checker off. The only roll I can think of where he might not would be like 1-6. Can you think of anything else that might be a difficult number that you might not take a checker off?
Well, let me run through them real quick here. 6-2, I mean, he would leave himself odd, but I think might well be right to do it anyway.
So with 6-1 or 6-2, you think you're peeling?
Well, I think so. Well, let's
find out what 6-2 is. And you're exactly right, but only by .004. So yeah. You're certainly right to ask. I was right to ask the question.
Yeah.
Let's see about 6-1. 6-1 is huge.
Okay.
Yeah, 6-1 is huge. You take the checker off. We can see the difference between 6-1 and 6-2 and how it leaves you afterwards. Between the two, but it's hard for me to see that huge a difference between the two.
I agree. Yeah,
it's amazing. John, thank you very much for the analysis. But what John does over the board is more complex than what the average player is going to do. How many people are going to use risk over risk plus reward, know all the equities, and come up with a 30% take point for blue? What do I do over the board? I have memorized that number. I have gone through every score of 9 away, 9 away, and down and memorized it because I'm too stupid to figure it out over the board. So the dumber you are, the more work you have to put in to come up with the right number. And I suspect that if you were asked to ask John to come up with the number within 10%, he could probably guess very closely what the right number is. Even Ray Fogerlin, who just walked up, and we're being recorded, Ray, might even know the take point here for blue in this position. You want to take a venture to guess on tape here, Ray?
What's the score of the match?
The score is 6-2 in a match to 9. Red is thinking about redoubling, and the question is, what is Blue's take point on the recube?
Looking like about 10%, maybe.
Blue's leading in this match. You would be exactly right if it was the reverse score. And by the way, if you were playing, you'd know if you were winning or losing. Ray always knows that. If there's no chairs being thrown, he's winning.
So, I don't know. I'd have to think about this for a while.
Well, if
let me move on the other side. Well, let John talk.
okay, I mean, if Blue drops, he's ahead 6-4. So even if you don't know exactly what that is, you should be able to come up with a reasonable estimate of his winning chances. Clearly, he's a favorite. Whereas if he takes and wins, you know that's 100. If he takes and loses, you know that's 50. So the only variable is 6-4.
All right, and here's what a peon like me does, John. I know that if I'm winning the match and I'm being recubed, that I'm going to have a much more incentive to want to drop, and my take point's probably going to be higher than if I'm losing the match and I'm being recubed and I want to catch up. So I'm going to take a much worse position if I'm behind than when I'm ahead, and that's why the take point here is about 30% on the recube, whereas it would be if the score was reversed, the take point would be, what'd you say, 10%, John?
Yeah.
About 10%. And that's
9,
that's what even
like
Ray Fogerlin came up with that number.
The risk and gain are going to be exactly the same here. So it's going to be 33%.
Do you take or drop this cube, Ray, if you're redoubled here?
How many are off? 5?
5 off.
You don't go with what you want, you go with what you got.
I'm going to say it's a pass.
Very good. And here's another giant that got it right. So, again, now you know that of the 6 giants who were at the tournament, the one that blew this was not Ray Fogerlin or John O'Hagan. And I'm not going to single it out because, again, it's not my goal to embarrass anybody. It's my goal to tell you all that there's hope even when you're playing a giant. They're going to make mistakes like this. Thank you very much, Ray and John, for your help on this. And I hope you enjoy these recordings. I'll have more soon.